And here's another review of Follower Chief Gear. So this person is in a state in the 3000s, and so they're not as experienced or haven't been around as long as the last guy with the blue gear. So, and obviously they're not a whale, so we wouldn't expect them to be maxed out yet. As always, we start with Chief Gear. So the jacket is C2 3 stars, and it is mythic. And then if you are an English speaker, C2 and T2 are the same. And then over here, the pants are only 1 star, but they are also mythic. So I would, from just pausing right here where I'm at, I would say bring the pants up to match the jacket. We want twins, and right now they're more like siblings. So we would want the pants to be C2 3 stars as well. And then we look at the marksman gear, and we see that the marksman gear is C1 purple, and the staff is purple 3 stars, so not quite, almost to C1, but not quite. And so what I'm going to say is, before they upgrade the pants, I would come in and bring the marksman gear up to at least C2 or T2 purple. I would like to see both of these be gold. I would like for both of these to be gold, no stars, before they touch those pants again, is what I would like to see. Because I feel like their infantry is a little too far ahead of their marksman gear. And I think that it would do them better if they go ahead and bring the marksman gear up. Yeah. Whoops. And then obviously I want the staff and the ring to both be gold. They can be gold no stars or gold 1 star, but I want them to be gold. And then the lancer gear is purple 3 stars. They're obviously not prioritizing that, although it is right in line with the marksman gear. So I think they've really prioritized the infantry. And I see this a lot with people who do solo attacks. A lot of the people that I know who, for lack of a better way to put this, farm points during castle, like those of us who rally castle, we often do a different disbursement on our chief gear. And people who are more focused on just attacking and solo attacks and city attacks, they often prioritize infantry. And I think that's because infantry feels powerful, but I think they're hurting themselves by not also prioritizing marksmen. So that's what I would say for him to do. His lancers, I personally would like for his lancers to be just below his marksman chief gear, but it is not a priority. And one of the reasons is because I know what gen he's in for heroes, which I'm going to go over his heroes as well. And so knowing what gen he's in, he's not in gen 1 or 2 where you really need to keep your lancers kind of caught up with because you use a 50, 20, 30 ratio. And then let's take a look at the charms. So the charms are not, this is 443. So the charms are pretty low. Well, that one is a 5. And then if we look at the infantry, whoops, where's the infantry? There we go. So he's really prioritized his chief gear over his charms. And I would say he needs to focus some on his charms more for infantry, but also for marksmen. And so you can see that's 543, and then over here we have 434. So what I would say is he should bring his marksman charms all up to 6. That's going to take him a minute. I know that's going to take him a minute. At least a 5. I would bring them all up to a 5, and then I would bring all of the infantry up to a 5. And then this is interesting to me because his lancer charms are all 4. Do I have that backwards? Is that not a 3? That's a 3, right? Hold on. We're going to go back to my handy dandy page. And we're going to double check because maybe I'm wrong.
Here without a trace.
Maybe I am right. So his lancer charms are actually better than, they're all 4s. And his other 2 have some 3s. Now his other 2 both have 1 5. But yeah, so I don't 100% understand what he's doing. But I would leave my lancer charms at 4 for right now. I would bring up the marksman to 5, the infantry to 5, and then I'd go back and do marksman 6. And then I would go marksman 7s, and then infantry 6 all the way across, and then lancers 5s all the way across. I would say that because he does prioritize his infantry so much, he could have his infantry and his marksmen be the same charm level. But again, we really rely heavily on our marksmen. We want them to be killing machines, and so I would just suggest that he do that. So that's my suggestions for his chief gear. These are his heroes. So you can see he is in Gen 6. He has, he sent this to me before SVS. So I'm guessing he was waiting until SVS to actually recruit these and use these shards. So, although he had some Gen 5 folks that he hasn't recruited. Okay, so for here, Hector, great, love him. Reyna, great, love her. Mia, I would prioritize Mia and getting her to 5 stars and using her for bear. I would also prioritize her widget, which I don't know if he has her widget or not. And then for bear, I would get Gwen. Gwen has her widget also has a rally buff, offense. like some folks have a defensive buff. Nora, Lynn, those are defensive heroes. And Gwen has an offensive. Gwen, Alonzo, Mia, they all have offensive buffs in their widget. And, you know, I have had better luck with when I'm rallying to use Hector, Gwen, and Mia. And I actually use Geronimo because I do have Geronimo, but he's expensive, so don't go and buy him unless you have like a decent amount of disposable income that you can spend. Like, but for like solo attacks and things of that nature and defense, I find, well, not necessarily defense, but for solo attacks, Hector, Gwen, and Reyna are perfectly fine. They work fine. And then we can look at their gear. And, he uses, oh yeah, that makes sense because he doesn't have Gwen yet. So he uses Greg. Greg is good in the arena. I like Greg in the arena. And so he has Greg's goggles and boots. And he's already gotten them up to legendary. He has not neglected the glove and the belt. What I would say is he should probably work on building up the forgery. You should probably forge the belt some and get it up a couple of levels. But, you know, focusing on the goggles and boots for Greg makes a lot of sense. His widget is at 4. Again, if you're not a whale or a pretty high spender, I wouldn't max his widget. I wouldn't touch Greg's widget at all right now. If anything, I would get Gwen and work on her widget. But Gwen even will be replaced by Bradley in 7. So, you know, until you get to Bradley, if you're a low to mid spender or free to play, then you really don't want to get their widgets past a 5. Like, you don't want to spend most until you get a hero that's going to last a while. Like Mia, you would, right? You would max Mia's widget because you're always going to use her for bear. But the rest of these will only last a generation or 2, and so you don't want to spend too much money on those. Unless you look ahead. So, like, I got Reyna in 4, and she is my Lancer for solo attacks. And so I maxed her widget because I'm not going to get another Lancer. Obviously I have Mia, but I'm not going to get another Lancer until Gen 8 when I get Sonya. So, like, I have Renee, but I'm not going to do anything with Renee. I'm not going to prioritize her. I will build her up as stuff happens to fall into my lap, but she is not my priority. And so if you are a low spend or a free to play player, I really encourage you to look at each generation of heroes and think about how you play and what you want, and then plan out which heroes you're going to get so you know if you should go ahead and invest more in one of the heroes because they're going to last a while, like for me Reyna has, or if you should, you know, just do the bare minimum in order to get you through to the gen when they come out. And then he has Reyna, and so I would, because I don't think he had Renee. No, he doesn't. So I would, if I were him, I would go ahead and bring up Reyna's widget probably to 6 or 7, because like I said, he's got Raina. I'm gonna assume is she 5 stars? No, she's only 4 stars. Um, but her skills are probably maxed. Her gear looks pretty good. He does need to do some forging of the glove and the belt because he hasn't done any for those. So I would say he could probably leave the goggles and the boots alone and just do some forging of with essence stones of the glove and the belt and get it up to, a 4 or maybe even a 5 depending on what he has available. And again, he sent this to me well before SVS, so he's already done stuff, and I apologize I didn't get to it before SVS. But I would recommend he doesn't get another Lancer until he gets Sonya, and so max Mia's, get her to 5 stars, max her widget, get Raina's widget to at least a 5, preferably a 6. And then bring up her gloves and belts, essence stones. And then lastly, we have Hector. And for Hector, he has focused on the right thing. He's focused on the gloves and the belt. And again, I would say the same thing. He should bring up the goggles and the boots. He hasn't prioritized them at all for essence stones, so he's not neglected them, but he hasn't he hasn't forged them at all, and I do think he needs to forge them, and that's really going to help him, especially because he prioritizes infantry a lot with his attack, so he doesn't, he needs to really think about making sure that his infantry hero is strong in attack as well. And then this is good. He will use Hector until he gets to Gen 8 with Gatot. I say that. I need to Google that one of these days. And so having him at a 7, I think that's perfect. Before he upgrades him from 7, I would say to go ahead and bump at least Raina up to a 5, and then he could easily, assuming Mia is already maxed, or close to being maxed, then I would go ahead and max Hector, because he's still got 2 generations of heroes to go before he gets Gatot. And it'll take him a little while. My assumption is it's going to take him a little bit to build up Gatot when he gets him. Like, he's not going to get him and then immediately max him, right? So he's still going to need to rely on Hector while he builds up Gatot. So, Gatot. Anyway. All right. So that is my review of this